Welcome to Sacred Space. It is a great honor to have with me this morning Rabbi Mark Diamond. Rabbi Diamond has been the project coordinator of the Mosaic Religion and the Religious Mosaic Initiative. Rabbi Diamond, tell us about yourself and tell us about how you got involved with this project.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's great to be with you. I am a senior lecturer in Jewish studies at Loyola Marymount University, which is a Jesuit university in Los Angeles, where I teach courses in Jewish studies and interreligious studies. Interfaith work has been a major part of my rabbinic career. I've been engaged in interfaith dialogues with a wide variety of Christian and Muslim religious leaders. And this project just really is one of the great highlights of my career, and such an honor to be part of this. I was invited to be part of this by Ora and Matthew, and it's been a delight, been a labor of love.
So how did this project get started, and where are we now with it?
Well, Academy for Jewish Religion received a generous grant from Lilly Foundation as part of an initiative to reach out, in this case, to Christian seminaries. And our thesis all along was that Christian seminaries teach their future priests and ministers about the Hebrew Bible, about the Old Testament, but they don't know much about Judaism beyond the Bible, and certainly not beyond the first century, the time of Jesus. And so we began by reaching out and working together with faculty members to interview 15 different seminary deans and presidents and faculty, lead faculty of wide variety of Christian seminaries, to find out what they'd like to do in terms of adding this to their curricula.
Now we'll hear more details about the Lilly Foundation from Rabbi Dr. Matthew Goldstone, the Assistant Academic Dean of AJR. Welcome, Matthew.
Yeah. This project was really sparked by a grant opportunity offered by Lilly Endowment, their Pathways for Tomorrow initiative, which is to help Christian theological schools strengthen and sustain their capacities to really prepare and support pastoral leaders for Christian churches. But as a school accredited by the Association of Theological Schools, we were eligible to apply for this grant and actually to contribute something that would have a major impact on the future of Christian leadership in North America.
Matthew, please share with our audience the subjects that will be covered in the video series.
Part of the genesis of this project was actually connected to the use of language. Our friends and colleagues at ATS, the Association of Theological Schools, work really hard to use inclusive language and to make us feel welcome, and they've asked us to help partner with them in this. And this was one of the initial goals of this video project, to help those in the Christian world, and especially its leadership, better understand the theological dimensions of language that some people assume is neutral. So in some of the videos, we explain the use of language and the ways in which we can be more sensitive to the use of language within the Jewish community and as used by the Christian community in conversation with the Jewish world.
What is a mitzvah? The Hebrew word mitzvah means command or commandment. You may have heard the term mitzvah when referring to the ceremony known as bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, or b'nai mitzvah, which is an affirmation of Jewish identity by 12 or 13-year-old Jewish boys and girls. Here it is often translated as child of the commandments, or one who is obligated to perform the commandments. On the other hand, you may also have heard people talk about doing a mitzvah, which in common parlance means doing a good deed.
Rather than bury the lead, let's begin with the end in mind. The Jewish calendar is based on the lunar cycle of the phases of the moon, yet adjusts so as to not stray far from the Gregorian or solar calendar.
The term anti-Semitism can be applied to a wide range of actions against the Jewish community as a whole or against individuals. An example of an anti-Semitic action against the Jewish community is the infamous blood libel leveled against various European Jewish communities. This began to emerge in the 12th century. The blood libel was an allegation that Jewish communities ritually murdered Christian children and used their blood for the baking of Passover matzah and for the performance of other Jewish religious rituals.
What makes someone Jewish? This is a challenging and emotionally charged question. Judaism is not simply a religion, but also has ethnic, cultural, and national dimensions as well.
Wow, so it'll be used as a teaching tool in, you're saying 15 denominations of Christianity?
15 different seminaries. The denominations that we interviewed were Roman Catholic, Presbyterian, Methodist, Eastern Orthodox, Evangelical Christian, Unitarian, and Mennonite. And our faculty members and I met with the heads of these seminaries to find out if we were on the right track. And we discovered to our delight that indeed they're interested in incorporating these curricular materials, and the fashion that we decided they wanted to do this via short videos. As a professor myself at a university, I'm always looking for exciting, informative videos to add to my classes. The old system of just lecturing for an hour and a half doesn't really work very much anymore.
Yeah, and the videos are beautiful. I got a chance to watch a few of them. So tell us some of the video topics.
Thank you. We wound up with 25 different videos. Some overlap between several of them, but the topics range from Shabbat and the Jewish calendar and Jewish holidays to Jewish identity in the modern world. Those were some of the quote-unquote easier topics. And then some more challenging topics, Christian supersessionism and its view of Judaism. 2 videos on anti-Semitism. A video on Are Jews White? A very timely and very difficult topic. So we had a combination of just informative educational videos, but we also wanted to be sure with the encouragement of the seminary heads to tackle some of the more challenging topics, to make sure we're providing a kind of a fuller picture of the variety of Jewish life in the world today.
That's amazing. And how did these episodes get scripted, and who narrated them?
Well, I worked closely with several of our outstanding alumni of AJR, and together we wound up writing 25 scripts for these videos, which were then recorded by some of our great cantors and cantorial soloists and students at AJR. And in terms of the creation of it, these scripts and the videos have gone through an extensive editing process, shall we say. We wanted to be sensitive, number one, to one of the principles of interfaith relations is you don't speak for the other. You represent your own religious faith, not that of your interlocutor. That's a little challenging in this kind of video format because we were talking about Christianity. So we wanted to be very careful to try to speak to a wide variety of expressions of Christian belief and practice in the world today. And of course we wanted to share as we know, the great variety of expressions of Jewish identity in the world today, from the different Jewish denominations, and of course AJR being proudly a multi-denominational school, to make sure we were representing, I always tell my students, there's no one Jewish view of most anything. So we wanted to make sure we did that.
Well, the whole project is inspiring, and the video footage that I saw was incredible. Do you see these videos being used in Jewish settings as well, like in just education, adult education, that sort of thing? Yes.
To be clear, the grant and the initial audiences clearly are Christian seminarians. Beyond that, as we were producing the videos, both our script writers and especially our narrators said, hey, this is great. Why are we just limiting this to Christian seminaries? So we do see potentially down the line a way to use these videos in synagogues, in churches, for synagogues and churches that are in partnership and doing dialogue. I have test marketed these videos in my own classes at Loyola Marymount University. I teach undergraduates there, and I found that they are very informative. Students are learning a great deal. So I really think this, down the pike, this has a great deal of applicability to many, many other settings.
Was there any one moment in the process or during an episode where you felt particularly moved or inspired either to spearhead this off into a different project of your own, or just a moment where you felt like, wow, this is something bigger than I ever could have imagined?
Thank you. Yes, two moments. One was actually in working with Dan Alshire. Dan is a former director of the Association of Theological Schools, ATS, and we felt it was very important to have someone who would read the scripts from a Christian point of view, and he offered really very valuable insights. And he confirmed, this was sort of the first aha moment, he confirmed for us that we were on the right track. We had a lot of tweaks. His advice was, again, invaluable, but it was clear that he felt this was an important project, and that was a great relief to us. And second, I think, was, again, really working on the more challenging topics like supersessionism, like the different vocabularies of Jewish and Christian life. I think we found that, and I worked very closely with Beth Stiles, who did the wonderful production of these videos. We both felt, as did the narrators and the script writers, that we were trying to be very, very sensitive, authentic to our own Jewish voices, and sensitive to Christian voices and minds and hearts that will see these videos. And I think we succeeded.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for being with me today.
My great pleasure.
We will be interviewing Dan and Matt, and a shout out to Beth Stiles, our producer also of this series, who did amazingly beautiful work on the project.
She did. For me, it's been a great pleasure in working with this extraordinary team from AJR and beyond, and I'm just grateful to have been part of this project.
Wonderful. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel, which will support AJR, and also hit that bell icon, and you'll get a reminder the next time an episode drops.
Hi, I'm Rabbi Joe David, and I was so delighted to take part in this project. I'm the sister of a very serious religious Christian, and my entire rabbinate has been about how do we talk to Christians so that they understand Judaism and so that we can show that we understand Christianity. When I realized that I was going to become a rabbi, I always thought that I would be talking to Jews, and it didn't take me long to understand that if we only talk to one another, we do nothing to bring Judaism into the world in a way that would make it understandable to people who are not Jewish. Talking to people who are not Jewish about Judaism is not easy. I was so happy and excited to be able to work on the content creation for this project, especially in talking about the Bible and also talking about anti-Semitism, which is, of course, such a worldwide issue, and which sometimes doesn't get transmitted in a way that is really comprehensible.
It is with great joy that I now welcome Daniel Alshire, the former executive director of ATS, to share some words and some thoughts about this project with us. Welcome, Daniel. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I'm pleased to be here.
So if you'll share a little bit about what your primary role was in this project, I think our audience would be interested in hearing all about that.
AJR asked if I would read the scripts prior to their going into production from a Christian perspective, in terms of, are they understandable? Are they saying things unintentionally that some Christian students might find offensive in an unnecessary way? And so I was delighted to have a chance to read them to think about them and to respond to them in terms of those two primary questions.
During the process, did you find that you learned something new that inspired you in some way?
I did learn a good bit, and I felt both good and bad about that, because much of what I learned I should have already known. But like most Christians who spent a career in Christian ministry, I'm just not that intimately acquainted with Judaism, though I've been around Jewish schools much of my career. So I was very pleased to learn what I learned. The other way in which I learned was some things I kind of knew around the edges, and those scripts told me more about what the center of it was. And that I appreciated that.
Beautiful. I like to think there's so much that we have to learn from each other. What would you say the broader impact within the ATS world is to have AJR as a resource representing Judaism as a whole?
I think that many seminary students are not far from where I have been. That is, not knowing as much about Judaism intimately as I should have or really wanted to. And so these videos will make it possible for a lot of Christian seminary students to have a caring and thoughtful perspective about Judaism. I think that AJR represents, interdenominational kind of Jewish religious education. And that's a more holistic look at Judaism in terms of its many expressions particularly in North America, where the seminary students reside. I don't think that many seminary students think anti-Semitically. They're not anti-Jewish. It's just that they don't know Judaism. And so these videos will provide a very helpful insight as they're working with parishioners who happen to be in an intermarriage, or neighbors of the congregation who are Jewish. It's going to give more of an insight, and that AJR is moving across all of those denominational expressions of Judaism is helpful, very helpful, more so than just one. I'd say, Elizabeth, that many Christians have the same experience of Judaism as Jews have of Christians. That is, who makes the news are the more conservative of both religious communities. So the visual of the ultra-Orthodox Jews or the visual of anti or fundamentalist Christians just show up in the media more than the majority of either Christians or Jews. And AJR provides a window in that's not excluding those more conservative Jewish communities, but including other Jewish movements.
Yeah, and I hope that these videos and this program will initiate more dialogue between faiths to approach each other always with compassion and respect and love.
Yeah. And I think that they provide the kind of resource that can make that possible, Elizabeth.
It's great. It was so wonderful to have this time with you. Thank you so much for joining me on Sacred Space.
It's nice to talk with you. Thank you for contacting me.
If you enjoyed today's program and you're interested in finding out more, go to ajr.edu for more information. Thank you for watching. We hope you'll join us next time when we learn about AJR's Peace Studies program. See you then. I'm Elizabeth Sternlieb, and this is Sacred Space.